there! We're going to be doing something with erosion, and we're going to focus mainly on water erosion and how it can change the land based on the water. And so you can focus on water pressure. In my lesson plan, I somewhat addressed it, but for this video, I'm not going to, because after doing the experiment, it was very difficult to get the actual conclusion, and the way it looked was different, so I thought I'd just focus mainly on the idea of what it's supposed to be. So for some of the standards that I chose, they are 2 ESS 2.1, compare multiple solutions designed to slow or prevent wind or water from changing the shape of the land. 4 ESS 2.1, make observations and or measurements to provide evidence of the effects of weathering or the rate of erosion by water, ice, wind, or vegetation. And then the final one is 5 ESS 2.1, develop a model using an example to describe ways the geosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, and or atmosphere interact. And so pretty much what we can focus on in this lesson is the effect water can have on soil and how we can try and prevent that from happening. So, for some safety precautions, definitely make sure students don't have allergies to plants or soil, asking the parents about that, or having students be aware of their surroundings. They could have soil on the ground, water, and especially if you have hardwood or tile, that can be really dangerous. So just making sure they're aware. You can combat this by just having the kids do it outside, keeping everything in your car and then bringing it to the playground, and the students can do their activity there. And also, you definitely as a teacher have to cut the bottles, at least the big ones. The smaller ones, you may be able to get students to cut them with scissors, but that still can be really dangerous, so definitely making sure that students are cautious about using sharp objects. For some differentiation ideas, I came up with a worksheet that students can use to put in their journal. So this worksheet would have different pictures of the different ideas or the different topics we would be talking about and experimenting with. So if you had a shower setting for water, you can put a watering can that has multiple hoses, or I put a shower head. And for the soil, you can put some dead leaves as the picture, or rocks, or plants, so you can choose whatever you want to do. But these students can then write about it in their journal, and they can use the pictures to say this is the best solution, and then they will predict how or why they believe that this would be the best solution and how their thought process went through this. Water pressures. After doing this a couple times, I found out the shower doesn't really work that well to show what you're doing, so using just a pour method helps a lot. So what you're going to do is you're going to have students, they can measure out how much water they're doing, but then so as you can see, there's water that is just puddled up instead of just flowing through the soil. So next you can see the water has caused some of the pebbles and stones to move around. Finally, you can see that there are very few puddles in the water, even though I used the same amount of water in each. The plants and their roots hold in the water and hold down the soil, meaning that soil is less likely to flow through the little hole. As the final drops drop, you can see that the plants and the stones have clearer water than the soil one. For this activity, this can help students understand that water can change the ground around us and how the rain can affect the soil and how we can try to prevent this from happening by planting things, putting rocks down, and how that can all help in the future. This activity can also be a great way to implement math into the classroom because you can have the students specifically measure out the amounts of water that they put into each plant, and you can have them use fractions. And so this is a great way to implement fractions because that's something students always struggle with. Even I struggle with it, so doing something like that can help students visually see how much water is in a fraction. For this math, you can have students start off with how much water they have in their little cup or in their little measuring glass, and then have the students pour as much water as they need until the water slowly trickles out through the bottle cap. And once that happens, the students will stop, and then they can measure how much water they used by adding what they started and then subtracting what they had left over, and that they can get how much water they used. So much for watching. I played around more with iMovie and got a little more acclimated to it, so I hope you guys liked it. I tried my best. So good